Are you dreaming about buying a catamaran and sailing around the world? Yep, me too. And today's market is tough. So I am here to help you navigate the catamaran buying waters of 2022. And hopefully my own catamaran buying experience can help you. Now, this video is the first I'm doing in a series of catamaran buying. So if you're interested in living the catamaran sailing dream, then I do invite you to subscribe and go ahead and hit that notification bell, because then you will be notified when my next video comes out. Welcome to The Freedom Strategy. My name is Heather, and I am here to help you turn your fantasies into realities, or help you make that dream you're dreaming into the life that you are living. And today we are going to talk about buying a catamaran. I have loads of experience, and I'm going to give you some tips today on how to get the ball rolling to actually fulfill that dream. So first off, why am I qualified to even do this video? Well, easy answer. I've had a catamaran and I'm buying a catamaran. Now, many years ago, I got hooked on this dream of getting a catamaran to sail around the world. And honestly, it's been a long, long time that I've had this dream and I just can't shake it. So here we are. Now, we purchased our first catamaran back in 2017 or 2018. And it was a great experience. We loved it. We weren't quite ready to get out there full time, so we ended up putting it in charter, and I'm going to come out with another whole video on having your boat in charter. But for now, the short story is we had it in charter, absolutely loved it, did great. And then COVID hit. We thought not only would the world fall apart, which it kind of did, but we also thought the boating market would fall apart, which it absolutely did not. But we sold our boat back in the beginning of 2020, and here we are now 2 years later, still with that dream in my head, and so we are now actively looking for another catamaran. So I've been on all sides of this catamaran buying experience, purchasing it back in 2017 and then selling in 2020, and now trying to purchase again in 2022, and it is a different world out there today. So what are the steps that I would recommend based on my own personal experience that you take if you really are seriously considering this lifestyle? The first thing I would say is take the ASA courses that will get you out on the water on a catamaran, and you'll be able to really feel what it's like. We took the 1-week course. It was really difficult. A lot of people think, oh, you just have to write a check or swipe your credit card and you're going to get certifications. For us, that was certainly not the case. We went out there. It was a week-long course. It was very, very challenging, but I'm super happy it was that hard, because it gave us a really, really good feel for not only what it was like to be on a catamaran for a full solid week, but also a lot of the challenges that can come up. So it was a great experience for us. So we did that first. Then we got off of that and we're like, okay, do we really still like this? And of course the answer was yeah. And so then we chartered a catamaran in the Virgin Islands. I highly recommend that. Absolutely gorgeous. Some of the easiest sailing around. Beautiful, stunning. So we did that for a week. We chartered the boat and also had a captain. So he showed us a lot about what to do and what's out there and what it's like. So we got out of that trip and again, reassessed. Do we still really want to do this? Yes, that answer did not change. It got even stronger at that point. Then we rented a boat in a dock in California, more like an Airbnb, just to see if we could really live in such a small space for a while. It was fantastic. We loved it. Those of you who follow the channel know we do a fair amount of RVing, and so it's very similar to that kind of a lifestyle. So after all of that, we decided, yes, we were ready to go ahead and purchase a boat. So I do recommend that you do if not all three of those things, at least one of those things, or maybe you have a friend who has a boat and spend some time on that boat. That will give you a very good feel for what to expect. Okay, so now you've decided, yes, I want to move forward with this dream. The next step is to search around online to see what kind of boats you can get in your budget. I hate to say this, at least this was the case for us, that we had all these grandiose dreams of what boat we could buy, and then we started doing the research on what was available at that price point. And they're not quite as nice as we had hoped they would be, but that's okay. What you really need is just a realistic view of what can we get for the amount of money we are willing to spend. And the way you do that is just to search around and see what is out there. So that, I would say, is step 2. Then when you get past that step and you know kind of what you're in the market for, that's when I would consider whether you want to do private party or a broker. Now, this is a hotly debated topic, and I will tell you, we've done it both ways. The first boat we bought was private party. We got very, very lucky. The seller, it was just such a nice couple. They took beautiful care of the boat. It was easy peasy, no problem, snap our fingers, and that was done. And that was back in 2017 or 2018 before the market went crazy. So why did the market go crazy? Well, a couple of reasons. The hurricanes, Irma and Maria, wiped out, I think it's 80% of the catamaran market. That's a problem. And then it was immediately followed up with COVID. So who knew, but COVID made everybody want to go buy a boat. So now there was this huge demand and no supply. And that is why the market has changed so dramatically. Boat prices have gone up. In fact, our boat, we sold it right when COVID hit for $50,000 more than we paid. And it is currently on the market, well, it's under contract for $50,000 more than we sold it for 2 years ago. And no, I'm not sitting here telling you a boat is an appreciating asset, because it's generally not. It's a depreciating asset. But I will say, over the last 2 years, it's been a little bit crazy. And what does that mean? That means boat prices are insane. And just be prepared for that when you go out there. And also the supply is very, very limited. And because of that is why my opinion today about broker versus private party is different than it actually would have been back in 2017. I highly recommend you get a broker. And here's why. They are all very, very well networked. And with the market as difficult as it is for buyers right now, I guarantee that these brokers behind the scenes, when they hear about boats coming up, they're reaching out to their own network and they're trying to match up buyers with sellers. These boats are getting done way before they hit the open market. So I recommend you find a broker. I will put a link to mine below because I like them so much, but find one that you are comfortable with. And I think you will have better access to some hard to find boats, or some great deals, or some boats that are in particularly good condition if you're going through a broker as opposed to private party. Now, having said that, you can find a really good boat private party. We did. That was a few years ago, but we did. So that leads to my next step, and that is, where should you be looking for boats when you are actually ready to start exploring actual purchasing? I recommend going in all the Facebook groups. There are a ton of sailing Facebook groups. There are a ton of catamaran specific Facebook groups. You're probably in them. I am. My name is Heather. If you see me, please comment and say hi. I'm in these sites all the time because, again, we are actively looking for a boat. And these sites are often just about people's trips or journeys or how to fix things on boats, but you will also see there are people that have been in these groups and then they decide they're going to sell their boat. And the first place they talk about it is in these Facebook groups. And so then you can immediately contact that person through the Facebook group and just say, hey, we're in the market. What is your boat like? And maybe you end up getting a deal that way. So Facebook groups are great. You'll also find in the groups there are people that have separate Facebook pages for their boats. And so follow those as well and just stay in contact with these people. Now, in addition to the Facebook groups, I do recommend going to the traditional online sites. Some of them are targeted toward for sale by owner, and some of them are targeted toward brokerages. Some of the for sale by owner groups don't allow you to have a broker representing you on your side. Others do. So you really it's very specific. You just have to kind of look through it. Going through those groups, I am on those sites every single day to see if something comes up. And things do come up, so make sure you are very, very diligent about looking at those sites. I'm going to put links to many of the sites below, just so there might be some there that you've not heard of. You just click and you go, look at the boats that are available. All right, so now you've determined, yes, you want to do it. You know your budget. You kind of know what's out there. You're either working with a broker or you're not. And now the big step. How do you afford it? There are a lot of ways to buy your catamaran. Now, the easiest, of course, is if you are fortunate enough to have cash. For sure, that's going to put you at the top of the list of any buyer that's trying to buy somebody's boat. But it's not the only way to buy a boat. You can certainly line up your loans. Now, I would recommend at least getting a sort of tentative approval for a loan before you're seriously shopping. It's a little hard to pin it down without knowing the exact boat you're buying, but at least get your ducks in a row for a loan for buying a boat. Another thing that I would suggest looking into is fractional ownership. Now, this is not something that I have done, but it is a great solution for people who are not ready to go full time, or they really only will ever want to spend several weeks a year on their boat. And basically all that is a group of people own the boat together. I know a lot of brokerages are setting these things up. You can also find them private party. Again, in these Facebook groups, I've seen this a lot. And it's usually about 6 to 8 owners, and each owner is going to own a certain number of weeks on the boat, and then you all coordinate together on who gets what weeks. Again, since I haven't done it, I can't give you a lot of personal advice on that, but I can see why that would be a really, really good solution for cutting the cost dramatically, and you still have access to a catamaran that is open for the weeks that you're going to want. So I would recommend doing that as an option to purchase your boat. And then the last one, and I will just start by saying, no, this is not for everyone, but it is what we did when we purchased our first boat. And that is we used part of a 401k retirement money. We rolled it into what's called a ROBS account, and that stands for Rollover Business Account. It's a little bit complicated, so we did hire an organization to help us do it. I'm going to put a link to their brochure below, because if this is something that interests you, I highly recommend it. It worked very, very well for us. The advantages of doing this are a couple of things. One is you can use that retirement money and actually not pay the early withdrawal penalty and not pay the taxes. But you really do legitimately have to open a business for it, and you have to create a corporation. The business that we opened when we did this with our first boat was we put the boat in charter, so it was a legitimate business. There was nothing shady or underhanded about it. It was a legitimate business, and this is an IRS approved way to use retirement funds to start your own business. So that is what we did. We ran the business. I did a lot of the logistics and the coordinating and the advertising and all that kind of stuff. So with a ROBS account, this is why it's different from a self-directed IRA, is that I actually can be paid as an employee of the corporation. That income I get is directly from the corporation that we formed in order to fund our boat. Now, it's important to note, I do have to pay taxes on the income that I receive as an employee of the corporation, but we did not have to pay taxes or penalties on the actual 401k funds. So that is something that if you're at all interested in it, and again, I'm going to repeat, I know this is not for everybody. You do not need to leave me nasty comments about, oh my gosh, that's terrible and that's irresponsible. It's not. Like I said, we actually made a profit on the boat, and we actually made money on it while we were in charter. So it actually worked out very, very well for us. I'm happy to talk to any of you more about it if you would like. Just go ahead and put a comment below. So those are the ways that I can think of to fund your boat. There are many options out there, so don't let funding be the reason you don't do it. There are options for you. So those are the steps that, from my own personal experience, I would recommend you take to get the ball rolling to fulfill your catamaran dream. Where are we today? Like I said, we are still looking actively for a catamaran. I have done all the searches in the Facebook groups and everything. We came very, very, very close to getting one not too long ago. It all blew up in our face. It was kind of a disaster. It was a private party. Again, this is another reason I recommend a broker. But let's just say that we are very, very happy and feel very fortunate we did not end up with that boat. It was kind of a disaster. So I will say the good news is I think my broker's got a couple of things in the works. I'm very, very excited. I do not want to jinx myself, so I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but I probably will talk about it in the next video. So again, if you're interested in that kind of thing, please subscribe. Thank you for tuning into the Freedom Strategy. I will see you next time.